Hey everybody, this is Kristen. I chose to do my differentiation activity on the lesson from day 8 of my curriculum map. The standard is ELAGSE 1W1. Write opinion pieces in which they introduce the topic or the book they are writing about, state an opinion, supply a reason for the opinion, and provide some sense of closure. This is an ELA standard for the first grade, and the activity is Hey Little Ant, Squish It or Leave It activity. There's also a book that goes along with this, and in the curriculum map, I said that the book would be read to the students after they have completed the assignment. I think it just makes it to where you get to see where their frame of mind is for the activity rather than them copy things from the book. The activity is meant to be individually completed. A template for the assignment can be found on Teachers Pay Teachers. The students are given a prompt and have to decide if they come across an ant, will they leave it or will they squish it? They must also provide the reason for why or why not, as well as provide a closure to their writing. After they have completed the writing assignment, then they will also present their assignment to the class. So the differentiation for this activity could be implemented by creating a more specific outline for students who have a difficult time following steps for writing or just a hard time focusing, by just kind of chunking that up and segmenting it. The template itself has a process of doing a brainstorm, rough draft, edit, final draft. But as we saw in our previous lessons, you can take it and you could bullet point it, change the layout some, different things like that to make it easier for the students to be able to gather their thoughts and have it clearly laid out in front of them for them to be able to put together the entire paper. You could also allow students to use speak to text to create their story. In this, I think that the standard is more so about the comprehension of an opinion, a reason for an opinion, and then providing closure. So the actual writing itself isn't the focus of the standard. So I think the speak to text could help students who struggle with fine motor and issues such as that. Some students may need additional time to complete the assignment. This could be your lower cognitive students, or just students who, again, have a hard time focusing. Really anything in that kind of realm. Maybe even your students who have emotional regulation issues, which will kind of go back to focus, but to give them opportunity to work on it a little bit longer. Your higher achieving students, I think something that you could do for those kids is to have a list or a word bank of higher level words and ask them to incorporate that into their story, or to even additionally write a factual story about ants. I think it would just depend on the teacher on which way you would want to go with that. Personally, I think the word bank would be more challenging to be able to incorporate those words than to do the fact. I think that could be a little confusing possibly. And so for the presentation portion of the assignment, some students may need to know ahead of time when they are chosen to present to reduce pressure and anxiety. This particular differentiation is something that my daughter, who receives speech services, it's a part of her IEP, because it helps her to be able to center herself and prepare instead of being called on immediately. And setting her up to not be able to present in her best ability, if that makes sense. So I could see where it would be used for kids possibly with speech issues, but it also could be, you know, emotional, like more performance related. And some students may also need the opportunity to video themselves present. Again, I think this could go back to the pressure of being in front of people. I imagine this could pertain to a 504, something that's more like medical, at the UFS student couldn't stand in front of the class for so long, or again, the anxiety of, and not just nervousness, but true anxiety from having to present in front of people, or to present individually to the teacher, or even have those choices between presenting through a video and the class still being able to see it all, or present individually to the teacher, so then you're still seeing that skill firsthand, but without the same amount of pressure of a whole class watching. So the types of differentiation I've mentioned are mostly process, which would be the speech to text, it would also be the format for the outline. That would be changing the process. Additional time, I believe that would also be process. The only thing that I think would not be process that I mentioned would be the presentation aspect, which would be changing the environment, because if they videoed it at home, they're doing it in a separate environment than the other students. And I think presenting to the teacher individually would also be an environment differentiation, because instead of having everyone present with you, it's just the teacher. So this is the activity that I chose. I think it would be really fun. There's probably a lot more that you could do with it than I mentioned. So I think it would be a very interesting lesson to teach. You guys have a good day. Bye.